Every business you love, every corner store, every restaurant, every cafe, if the owners had just invested their startup capital in the market, they probably would have made more money. From a financial perspective, almost every business started is a mistake. Does that sound like capitalism working to you? What is this? Private equity? Yeah, Britain's been eaten up even worse than America, but we're getting there, don't worry.
London's financial sector didn't grow Britain's economy. It's much more accurate to say that it ate it. Something happens when a country's financial sector grows so big that it eats the space the rest of the economy can use. Nicholas Shaxson, a journalist who spent a career inside the world of tax havens, thinks, contrary to popular thinking, that finance can become a massive burden on an economy. Past a certain threshold, finance stops feeding the economy that hosts it and starts feeding on it. A team led by political economist Andrew Baker put a number on the British version. Between 1995 and 2015, hosting an oversized city of London, the financial district, is estimated to have cost the UK economy £4.5 trillion in output that would have otherwise existed. That's roughly
Remarkable. Like a parasite? Yes, exactly like a parasite. The financial sector is fantastic for economic growth early on. The whole point of it is that you efficiently allocate the resources of capitalists, of venture capitalists, in order to finance, inspiring or upstart projects. The problem ultimately is that eventually you run out of new projects to feed, and the only way to continue to maintain those profit margins is to self-cannibalize, turning everything into a financial scheme where you gut the actual productive base in favor of higher speculative returns. It's happened in America too. We're long past this point over here. The financial sector did its job for a time, but I would say that the 80s were really the death knell. Really, the existence of a stock buyback at all, the idea that a company could just gut itself to enrich its shareholders directly, not via the intermediary process of selling products or goods or services or whatever, that's really like the ultimate death knell, I think, for financialization being potentially an economic boon. We're well past that point.
2.5 years of GDP and about £67,500 for every person in the country. Most of that is misallocation. Skills, capital, and attention pulled out of things that make things and into things that move money. For example, look at the lending. In 2017, 3.5% of British businesses' lending went to manufacturing. Around 60% of all bank lending went into financial intermediation.
Incredible. Look at my efficient allocation of venture capital, dog. No one, it's exactly what I've said so many times. No one makes money by selling goods and services anymore. So why would venture capitalists invest in that? The only thing they're interested in investing in is their own financial schemes. It's not like why are goods and services like all dried up and expensive and we're not producing anything anymore? Because that's not where the money is. Like I said before, every business you love, every corner store, every restaurant, every cafe, if the owners had just invested their startup capital in the market, they probably would have made more money. From a financial perspective, almost every business started is a mistake. Does that sound like capitalism working to you? Where 99.9% of the time it's a better bet to just dump your money into an index fund and watch venture capitalists reinvest and debt manage and debt juggle until your money balloons up from something to something greater. You wouldn't have any cafes. You wouldn't have any coffee shops. You wouldn't have any restaurants. All of them. There are very few restaurants that have outperformed the market over the past couple of decades. Most restaurants barely break even. A world with no restaurants, no cafes, toy stores, hobby stores, all gone. Everything just ventured. And the only businesses that would exist at this point really would be major retailers, grocers, big box stores. That's it. That's all that would be left. There would be no more commercial districts. Cities would just be office buildings, laying fallow, empty because no one works anymore. Who needs to? It's just financial services. Residentials, and then you would drive 40 minutes out of town to go to a box store. There'd be nothing left. No business, no entrepreneurship, no investment, just financial schemes running in an infinite Ouroboros. That's the future. Does it sound like capitalism to you? I understand the snarky answer is to say yes, but you have to understand that the system that I'm describing right now is literally the exact opposite of every capitalist thinker's theories. Like, go back to Adam Smith or whatever. The people pitching capitalism would not approve of what this has turned into. It's not working as intended. It's working as intended in the sense that capital is getting more capital, but like, this is not the desired output of capitalism. It's failing even on its own terms. Of course, nobody in power today is an ideological adherent of capitalism. They'll defend anything that reinforces the power of the bourgeoisie, even fascism, which, subjugates capital under the state's control. So, like, no one's around to even challenge modern capitalism on the grounds that it's anti-capitalism, it's anti-competition, it's anti-free trade. It's doing what Marx said, not what Smith said. Man, that Marx guy was pretty smart, huh?
Financial intermediation. In other words, finance lending to finance. Bank for International Settlements researchers describe the effect as finance bidding rocket scientists away from making satellites. The city likes to call itself the golden goose. The measurement looks more like a cuckoo in the nest, the bird that lays its egg in someone else's nest so its chick can shove the others out and be fed in their place. Meanwhile, real wages grew by roughly a third every decade from 1970 to 2007, then flatlined at the 2008 financial crash. The Resolution Foundation says the average worker now sits around 11,000 pounds a year poorer than they would be if that pre-2008 trend had continued, making it the worst run for real earnings in over a century. London's wealth and the country's poverty aren't sitting next to each other by accident. The model that produced one helped hollow out the other.
And it only gets worse when you factor out the fact that a lot of modern wealth generation and savings for people is tied up in the market too. Your 401k, your pension. Does going on strike even do anything anymore in the face of capital collapse? Probably not really. Not really, no. It doesn't really do much to reorganize the paradigm shift. It would be nice, though, for people to be reminded of the overwhelming power of labor. But it's not going to change the dynamic. Nobody's bold and strong enough to imagine a different world. Strikers can only ever strike for their self-interest, right? Pay me more. But it doesn't work like that anymore. I think a lot of you guys don't understand. Businesses don't have the money. Walmart doesn't have the money to pay people out more because Walmart can operate on thinner margins. They have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize profit for their shareholders. And nowadays, you can do that in a way that, we'll put it lightly, does not guarantee, 4% unemployment or less. If modern day corporations were cut down to the bone, really cut down to the bone, we would realize they operate on relatively thin margins because financial capital has hollowed them out too. Everyone everywhere is running out of money, somehow. Disagree a general strike can accomplish anything we want in our system if well organized enough? Well, for one, good luck with that. But for two, also, the problem is, do people even know what the problem is? Like, what would a general strike demand? The end of financialization? People don't even know what the problem is. See, it's ultimately the materialism element again. This isn't something that we can just demand. Material conditions have to advance to a point of untenability. They are, very rapidly. We are rapidly approaching the wall. And at that point, something new will happen, not because people demanded it, but because it was inevitable. Capitalism didn't emerge because people wanted it. Capitalism emerged because it was inevitable, really. It was a byproduct of environmental circumstances. Now, we can change the environment, but I don't think we have that much direct control over it, unfortunately. Perfect example is massive company Oracle claiming they can't pay their electricity costs for the data center they want. Oh, they're broke. They're in deep debt. You know what's an even better example? The U.S. government, the U.S. Department of Defense, which is the single wealthiest entity on Earth, organization, I mean, the U.S. Department of Defense can't afford to procure missiles to continue its campaign against Iran. Can't pay for shit. It turns out the money was only ever an abstract representation of the value people placed in the commodities that they wanted to purchase. You actually need to produce the commodities. All the money in the world doesn't make water and food materialize. Labor does. If you design a system to produce money, it'll produce money. But if you're not engaging in actual material production alongside it, what are you getting? We turned everything into gambling. Financialized capitalism really is a King Midas problem, isn't it? You can turn everything to money, including the food you were going to eat.